So, hi everyone, and thank you for being here. I am Andrea. I'm the events catalyst for the immersive series and your co-host for today's gathering. And I'm tuning in from Bucharest, Romania. I want to warmly welcome you to our gathering and swiftly introduce our guest for today, Vanessa. Seasoned personal productivity coach Vanessa Kettner has been working with people across the globe for over 15 years to not only help them improve their personal productivity, but to do so in ways that promote self-partnering and inner peace. She's a certified NLP practitioner and states her life purpose as follows: to continuously expand my understanding of the world and then dare to share authentically the riches I discover. A dual UK-US citizen, she has been living in the US since COVID reared its head in 2020, anchoring her after an 18-month stint as a digital nomad. Before that, she spent 12 years based in the UK and 3 years in France. Thank you, Vanessa, for being here. Over to you.
Great. Welcome, everybody, and thank you, Andrea, and thank you to L&D Shakers. Yes, I'm so thrilled to be here. So I see that we have, some people tuning in from Europe, the US, India. Have I missed any regions? It's so lovely to have a global audience. I will need everybody to have a pen and a paper for today's workshop. If there's anybody who doesn't have that with you, maybe I'll give you a chance to do that now. And whilst people get that pen and paper, I'm just going to lead us in taking a few deep breaths. I'm not a breathwork expert. However, in my 15 years of personal productivity coaching, I've definitely come to the realization that most of the magic happens, or I would say all of the magic happens in the present moment. And to that end, when I lead group facilitations like this, I like to just do a few deep breaths to invite you to let go of whatever you were doing in the minutes leading up to this, and invite people to really drop in and be present in this workshop. So go ahead and close your eyes, and I'll just lead us in taking 3 deep breaths. So go ahead and breathe in and breathe out. Go ahead and breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in, last one. And breathe out. Great. Okay, yeah, we could just stay in that space all day probably. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that slide? Great. Okay, I'm just gonna get my screen set up so I can see all your faces. Okay, so using interpersonal conflict as a catalyst for growth. When Andrea asked me earlier this year if I would be interested in running a workshop for L&D Shakers, I knew the answer was yes. I love to work with Andrea, and I love to, share my riches in any way I can. And I knew quite quickly what I wanted to give this workshop on. In 2015, I learned an exercise that really changed my life, and that I actually use every day and have used every day since I learned it back in 2015, if you can even believe it. And so I knew I wanted to attempt to teach it to a group of people online for the first time. So that's what I'm doing today. This exercise is many things, but first and foremost, I reach for this tool in my toolbox if I've had some sort of a conflict with a person or group of people in the external world. This has emerged as the go-to tool I use to try to understand the conflict, process what has happened, and I use it to help me to decide how to move forward. So that's where the name of this this workshop comes from. And invariably, when I have a conflict, I run this exercise. What happens is that there's some sort of personal growth that takes place as a result of running this exercise. So okay, so quite simple. I have cut this workshop into 5 different parts. Part 1 is the intro. We are experiencing the intro right now. Part 2, I will be explaining to you conceptually the meta mirror. That is the name of the exercise. If anyone by chance, actually, I know one person has, at least one person has, if anyone by chance has heard of the meta mirror before, or have it, it has been facilitated on them before, will you just put in the chat? To most people, this will be new. But I am interested in if anybody has come across this before. Okay. Part 3 of the workshop, I will be facilitating this exercise on you. Yeah, so I know that Rachel has. Part 4, we will get together and we will debrief the exercise, and depending how many people are with us by that point, we will either do it as a big group or perhaps break into smaller groups. And then part 5 will be wrapping up. And it's really important for me to communicate to you all that the main course of this workshop is that part 3. What I'm really hoping for is when I facilitate this exercise on you all, that there will be some sort of internal shift vis-a-vis someone you're in conflict with, or just some sort of difference in how you perceive the situation. And part 1, 2, 4, and 5, this is all here to really support that part 3. So just so you know. Okay, so explaining the meta mirror. First of all, in the chat, I'm interested in hearing from everyone. When you do have some sort of a conflict with someone, so either small or bigger, what are some of the tools that people are reaching for to help understand what happened, or help process, help try to figure out a way forward? I'm interested if people could put in the chat what some of the tools that they're currently using are. And I know I have a number of different tools myself, and just curious to see what people are currently doing. Okay, so direct feedback, positive, yep, what to improve, talk through with a therapist. Yes, I do that one as well. See, one of the ones I used to do a lot is simply journal. Ladder of inference, I don't know that one, but perhaps Jane can give a workshop on that. Meditation, reflective practice. Yes, I've definitely found that putting space between stimulus and response is helpful. Somatics, body scan, wonderful. Okay, so these are all wonderful. Like with most things in life, as many tools that we have in our toolbox to use in any given situation is going to be more helpful. So my goal for you, or my goal today, is to just give you one more tool to put into your toolbox on this front. And as I mentioned before, for me, this has become the go-to tool that I reach for. So okay, so the meta mirror. I love this. I love the name of this exercise. If I just tell somebody, oh, I'm going to do I'd like to do the meta mirror, and it's like, what the hell is that? It's not really that self-explanatory, but if we break apart the 2 words, so mirror, of course, we will all be familiar with, a reflective surface that reflects a clear image. So we use a mirror, of course, to see ourselves in a way, or to see part of ourselves that we are not able to see left to our natural devices, right? We all have a lot of experience using mirrors. Meta is a little bit is not quite as well known as the word mirror, although it crops up in all parts of society. But in Greek, it is above or beyond, more comprehensive, showing awareness of itself. So what this exercise is all about, and I think why the title is so apt, is we're really trying to see ourselves from all these different angles. So it's beyond a mirror, or I like to say like a mirror on steroids, trying to see all these blind spots of ourselves that we can't see left to our natural devices. So, so that is just kind of a breakdown of the title. Where did the meta-mirror come from? It's really important for me to give credit to where credit is due. I did not come up with this myself. Like I said, I learned this exercise in 2015. I attended an NLP with neuroscience class in London. And you'll see from this slide, Ian McDermott and Patricia Riddle. These were my two teachers in this exercise. Patricia is a neuroscientist, and Ian McDermott is many things, but he's a master NLP practitioner. So I learned it from them. I did a little bit of Googling. I know that they didn't create it on their own. So I found out that a chap called Robert Dilts is the originator of the meta-mirror. So Ian, Patricia, they simplified it and kind of made it their own. And I've done the same. I've kind of made it my own, and it's not copyrighted, so people are free to kind of take these things and run with them. So it's important for me to give credit where credit is due. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to conceptually walk through the exercise with you. Again, this is all prep for us, for when I facilitate the exercise on you. It's important to note that when I was taught this exercise and when I facilitate this exercise on others, I have people stand up and move around the room. So for example, I love facilitating this exercise in yoga rooms, in big conference rooms and companies. And I will put 4 points on the floor, and I will move people's physical body around these 4 points, and or these points or positions. And at each position, I am asking a few questions, and the person will then answer those questions verbally. So it's a very kind of colorful, alive process where your body is moving around, and also you are talking, basically. Today, that would be very difficult to do, perhaps not impossible, but quite difficult. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to have everybody stay seated. And instead of you moving your physical bodies around, I'm going to, in your imagination, have you move the room around. And instead of speaking verbally, I will have you journal the responses to the prompts. So know that there's one way I typically do it, and for today's purposes, we're going to be doing it a different way. Now, I have a lot of, I've done this many times on myself in an airplane, in a little small little space. So I know that it is effective when seated and writing, doing writing as well. Okay, and whilst I do this little exercise for you, I invite you to think about a little bit ahead of time who you might like to run this exercise on when I facilitate it. So, anyone who you, where there might be a little bit of conflict in the relationship or some confusion, I invite you to start thinking about that, because I'll ask you to choose someone quite soon here. So, okay, I'm going to use I'm going to use an example in my personal life, so to illustrate this for you, to hopefully help you better understand it. In my own life, I run this every day, but I'm going to choose an example of where I hired a person to help me write my CV, my resume, and I was really excited to incorporate all these things into my CV. I'd just been a digital nomad, all these new skills that I had, quite unique skills. And I had a 30-minute phone conversation with this woman, and I just felt like she did not get me at all. Everything I wanted to showcase in my resume, she wanted to kind of downplay and hide. And I was really upset after I got off that call with this woman. So a little bit of a conflict, got off the call, and then cue the meta-mirror. Okay, so for in the first position, I am standing up tall in my present day self, and I'm looking across the room at this woman. I'm going to call her Joanne. It's not her real name. And the prompts that I am asking myself, what am I thinking and how am I feeling? So in this situation, I was feeling unseen. I was feeling upset. I was feeling confused and slightly angry, basically. Okay, and then I shake it out. That point, I move into position 2. And this is just a really quick version to give you an example. Position 2, I'm coming and I'm embodying the person with whom I'm in conflict, Joanne. And I am looking across the room at myself, at Vanessa right in front of me. And once again, the questions I'm asking, what am I thinking and how am I feeling? So as Joanne looking at Vanessa, I am feeling a little bit annoyed at Vanessa, why she wants to highlight these things that are unimportant. And yeah, short of patience, basically. And I'm feeling also a little bit superior to her. Okay, so then I shake that out. Now we're going to move around the room. You'll see from the slide, position 3. In position 3, I am still Vanessa, but I'm a wiser and older version of Vanessa. And in this position, I am now looking at present day Vanessa. And just to my left, I'm looking at this woman, Joanne. And in this position, I am asking myself, how does this older, wiser Vanessa respond to present day Vanessa in position 1? And in this example, I would say, first of all, I'd say, Vanessa, stand up straight. Look, this person doesn't understand your skill set, what you're trying to achieve, your niche. So, you know, you're just not a good fit. Don't get all emotional about it. Don't worry about it. Just cut off the relationship and find someone who is maybe more of a specialist in your area. Okay, then I'm going to shake that out. At that point, I move into position 4. And in position 4, you see there are a lot of selves. In position 4, I'm looking at position 3, the older, wiser Vanessa. This is where the meta mirror, all these mirrors come in. And I'm looking at present day Vanessa. And I'm looking at the difference between the two, noticing the difference. And then at this point, I'm going to actually swap them. So I'm inviting the older, wiser Vanessa to then step into that position 1. And so the final step then is move the room around in our head, come back into position 1. So now I'm back facing Joanne again. And the question here is, how is this different? And actually, even though this is just an example that I did 2 years ago, I can even tell that I'm feeling more relaxed in my body. And this is different because I don't need to spend any more time on this. Basically, I just need to cut her loose. She can go serve the client she needs to serve, and I can go find maybe a more specialist CV writer who fits the bill for me. Okay, so that is conceptually what it looks like. I gave you a little bit of an example. Does anyone have any questions before we move into me facilitating this on you in real time? Maybe give me a thumbs up if you're ready to, on your, either with your real thumb or with your digital thumb, if you're ready to move forward. Okay, great. Okay, so here we go. We're going to facilitate, or I'm going to facilitate this on you. Back to the slide. I want to tell you as well, for each position, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to journal. For some people, this is my 2-minute timer. For some people, 2 minutes will not be enough time. And if that's the case with you, I recommend or encourage you to run this exercise after the workshop and take as much time as you want. For other people, 2 minutes might be too much. You might be able to kind of get to the heart of how you're feeling or how that position is feeling quite quickly. And in that case, if that is you, I encourage you to either just continue to journal, kind of, free associate journal, or just to stay in character, so to speak, in that position that you're in. Okay, so I'm going to give everybody a few more moments to think of who you would like to put into position 2. Most people do put another human being in position 2, but please know that you can also put countries in position 2. You can put governments, you can put groups of people, companies. There really is, yes, Praveen is going to put his boss into position 2. I've really tried out a number of things in position 2. So go ahead and give me a real thumbs up or a digital thumbs up once you feel like you have someone in mind who you'd like to put into position 2. Okay. Seeing a thumb, seeing a little bit of nodding, have a few thumbs. Okay, yeah, this comes quite quickly to people. Okay, c'est parti. Okay, so here we're gonna start out in position 1. So what I want you to do is, again, we're standing up straight. I'm looking directly at the person with whom I'm in conflict. And just to remind you of the prompts, in this case, the questions I want you to answer, what am I thinking and how am I feeling? And this doesn't need to be, the person in front of you will not hear, you don't have to mince words or be careful about your words. This is, we're going for honesty in your description of how you're feeling and what you're thinking. So I'm just going to give you 2 minutes and I want you to journal the answer to those 2 questions. What am I thinking and how am I feeling? Go ahead. Okay, we're at 2 minutes. Go ahead and stop your journaling. What I'm interested, if everyone could, who feels comfortable, put in the chat, maybe choose 1 or 2 words that really encapsulate how you were feeling in position 1, for those of you who feel comfortable sharing. Maybe have upset, frustrated, helpless, yes. Anxious, hot flash, lack of confidence, beautiful. Frustrated, unseen, hot-headed, love it, yes. Furious, rejected. Wonderful. I was going to say, that might sound, I was going to say, oh, this is music to my ears. Maybe it comes across that. It's good. But basically, I want to make a plug here in position 1 for the power of even just naming our feelings. This is a skill, and it is a skill that a lot of people don't have or haven't developed very much. So the wider we can, the bigger we can develop our vocabulary around feelings words, and the more we can pinpoint exactly how we're feeling, this is a really great tool for navigating any sort of interpersonal relationship. So yes, so that's wonderful. I want you all to shake it out. We're going to change positions here soon. So often I do a little dance, stretch a little bit. And in this next position, I will be asking you to embody, so try to get into the skin of the person with whom you're in conflict. This comes really easy to a lot of people and can be a little bit difficult for others. There's also sometimes, depending on how well you know the person, can be easy or difficult. So I want you to, really see if you can embody this person. And in this position, I'm standing up straight, embodying the person with whom I'm in conflict, and I'm looking at myself. So I'm seeing myself through that person's eyes. So I'll just give you a few moments to get into character, and then I'm going to give you 2 minutes to journal on the same 2 prompts. So the prompts again are, what am I thinking and how am I feeling when I look at myself through this person's eyes? So go ahead and start. Okay, so that's 2 minutes. Go ahead and shake that out. If you've had to embody someone you don't like very much, that can sometimes feel uncomfortable. So we'll shake that out. And again, in the chat, I'd just like you to put in anything that came up in terms of, again, feeling words that came up when you were in that position. I'm interested to see what came up. Feeling neutral, puzzled, tired, great. Frustrated, exasperated, lost, useless, in a black hole. Awesome. Yeah, disappointed. Wonderful. So same applies. Ooh, these are good. Irritated, steadfast, righteous. Yes. So this position can be very powerful for a lot of people. It may be, the first time you have some insights into what is going on for the other person. It also can be illuminating this position. Sometimes when I put people in position 2, they realize, oh, actually, I have no idea what's going on for this person. And it can sometimes then, you can think, oh, well, actually, I need to go talk to this person and ask them. So a lot of interesting things can come up in this position too. So great job. Now we're going to move to position 3. So if I were doing this to you in person, I would move your body, but in this case, we're going to move the room. So it's this square. And now where I am here, I'm standing up straight. So I've moved the room. And here I am, a wiser version of myself, an older version of myself. I'm 43. I usually add 20 or 30 years. So I step into my 63 or 73-year-old self. And when I'm doing this in face-to-face, I will often put position 3 on a chair or a stool. What we're really trying to do here is get a bird's eye view of the situation. So this is position 3. In front of me, I am looking at my present day self. And just right over here, I'm looking at the person with whom I'm in conflict. So I have a bird's eye view. You can also make them smaller in your mind, if you want more perspective. But basically, we are putting some distance and observing the situation. And the question here, it's purposefully vague. And the question is, in my case, how does this Vanessa here respond to that Vanessa there? So it's specifically asking about, you're responding to your present day self rather than the person in position 2, but you see kind of the whole dynamic. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the question in the chat. How does, this older self and wiser self here respond to my present day self? So I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to really journal into that. And and yeah, it's again purposefully sort of vague. Okay, that's 2 minutes. Go ahead and shake that out. Do some stretching. Yes, good head movement. Great. Okay, now I'd like you to put in the chat. There's some good head movements. Go ahead and put in the chat, 1 or 2 things that position 3 that came out of position 3's mouth, so to speak. Just be interested to see some of the wisdom that was being proffered. Love this. Position 3 doesn't even know why I even care about this. That is, yes, that's often I find the case. Yes, you are subject matter expert. Stay calm, speak up for yourself, be confident. Amazing. I love it. Calm down, clarify your intention. Yes. Yes. So Wonderful. And position 3 is often kind of like a very good friend who, enters into the equation and reminds you of what is true. Yeah, she only needs support and love. That's what you can offer. The world is too demanding, too many expectations for her. I love it. There was one time that let's see, I can see his point of view now, feeling calmer, like it's possible. Wonderful. There's one time I facilitated this exercise and the person got into position 3 and said, oh, I get it. And then that was done. Something about that perspective, there was just an immediate understanding of what was going on. Okay, behind every frustration, there's a broken dream. Amazing. Okay, wonderful. So now what we're going to do, we're going to move into position 4, and this will be shorter. I won't take 2 minutes for this one. And in position 4, wow, look at all our different selves. And when you step into position 4, what you're doing now is you are, standing up straight. In front of you is your older, wiser self. And then just to the left over here is your present day self. And this position is really just to clock, okay, there are some differences between the two. So just to see those differences. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, in our head, in our mind's eye, we're going to swap the two. So we're basically going to invite that older, wiser self to go to bat really for us in position 1. And I like to think of this as, the Apple iPhone. I like to think of it as an iPhone upgrade that we are just going to bring an updated version of ourselves into position 1. Thank our present day self that, they've done a great job. And now we're going to bring in a new updated version. So moving on then to the last position. So we're going to come home back to where we started, position 1. So in position 1, now remember, this is with our upgraded, wiser self, assuming the position 1, and we are looking at that person with whom we're in conflict. And so the question that then we ask in this position is, how is this different now? And I would say 95% of the cases, there will be a difference, often a significant difference. On a few occasions there haven't been, but I'll presuppose that there is a difference. So I'll give you 2 minutes to journal on how is this different. Okay, so that's 2 minutes. Go ahead and check that out. Do a little stretching. And then same as I've done with the other positions, I would love to hear, do the head bobble. I would love to hear from people just a little bit in the chat. Maybe 1 or 2 things that came up for you, how this is different from the first time that you were in that position 1. Yes, I love it. Martina, this is how yeah, I will not give this situation that much energy anymore. Yes, and this is not uncommon. It's just like moving on. Absolutely. Calmer, no need for conflict. Yes. Feeling calmer is often something that happens after having run this exercise. There's an undercurrent of confidence now. Love it. More understanding the other. Beautiful. Yeah, I feel calm now, balanced. Yes, I can speak more clearly, respectfully. Doesn't matter. Let's talk it out. More balance. Lovely. Okay, so that is the exercise. And I am mindful that we have about 15 more minutes left. So we're going to go into debriefing the exercise. Obviously, to an extent, we've done tiny debriefs as we've gone along. Now, Andrea, let's see, how many people are logged in? And do you recommend we stay together as a group, or if we go off into little groups to debrief?
So besides the 2 of us, there are still 11 people. So
Okay.
I'm not sure how we can break that down into breakout rooms, because a person would be left aside. So maybe we can stay in a larger group if, yeah.
Yes, that sounds great. Yeah. Okay, so actually in the chat, what I'd be interested, I'll just have you put stuff in the chat, and then I'm going to ask to hear some verbally from some of you who are happy to share. But go ahead and put in the chat what you think, which position was most impactful for you, which one kind of yielded the most results, so to speak. Let's see what people say. Hold ourselves. Yes, okay, so a couple of position 3s, 2 and 3, 3, 8, 2. Lovely. Okay, I would love to hear from someone about about what position was helpful for them, and actually any sort of reflections if you'd like to share. That's I would love to hear those reflections. So we'll see if there's anyone. Okay, cool. Yes, Praveen.
Hi, thank you, Vanessa, for this wonderful experience. I think I could relate more to position 2 and position 3 because position 2 gave me an opportunity of putting myself in in that person's shoes with whom I'm having the conflict, right? So
Yes.
it is like we are looking at the same thing, but with a different lens. Now, when I changed that lens, automatically something in me also changed, right? Because there is a certain perceived value that that person is perceiving towards me, which made me look from their eyes and felt that, sometimes there are certain aspects of us that also require some change, right? Which the older self was able to explain it to me when I moved to position 3. I think that's the essence of this activity that I took from this.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. And what was this? You wrote something that was really beautiful in the chat. I don't know if I can, maybe it was, yeah, go ahead.
Behind every frustration, there is a broken dream.
Yes. Yeah, that's really powerful. Thank you so much for that. Love to hear from someone else if anyone is willing to share. Yes, Martina.
Sorry, I think Angela was raising her hand from before.
Okay, great. Yes, Angela.
Sorry, I'll go after.
Oh, thank you. What was really interesting for me, I've been in a long time job search in addition to the other things that I am doing. And so I put the employer and looking at me in position 2, and
amazing.
It was, really super insightful, as was position 3 as well. So just
really... So tell me, if you're happy to share, tell me a few things that you saw from the employer's perspective when looking at you.
A lot of curiosity. Like, it felt like, well, you're super interesting, but tell me more. Give me more clarity. really
Yes.
make me want to give you the job offer that
Yes.
you're looking for.
Yes, and to that point, you know, this isn't necessarily a conflict, but before interviews, for example, so if you have an interview, even though there's no conflict, I will typically run this exercise because, you know, in this case, you can see yourself. And then also a lot of people were saying when they get back into position one, there's a feeling of calm. And so it really changes our physiology. And so absolutely, I recommend this. You know, it's just not only for conflict, but any sort of, if you have nerves, you know, like even before first date, I can tell you some funny stories about doing this before first date. And so any time where yeah, that there might be some nerves there is helpful. So cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Martina, do you want to go?
Yes, so I agree with position number 3. And the way I saw it, like my older self gave me a pep talk. And she was like, okay, is this gonna matter in 1, 2, 3, 4 years? Why do you even care? And this is why I wrote the comment. Because if I look at position 1, I had so much animosity towards the conflict. It was all, you know, all in my head, very frustrated. And, you know, it's you know, taking a lot of my energy. And then this position number 3 was like, okay, but just calm down, it's not that personal. And so now I feel like, oh wow, I really don't have to, you know, carry that. It's just like, let's just let it go and that's fine. So thank you so much for this.
Yes, and one of the things that, in having done this so many times, one of the things that has come up for me is that regardless of who is in position 2, what always happens, what invariably happens, is that it's actually the relationship between 1 and 3 that the position 2 often ends up kind of fading, and it's really so our relationship with ourself, that the spotlight is on that. And I've found that, yeah, if I can really get position 1 and position 3 on good terms, or if they're, you know, really working well together, then position 2 almost takes care of itself. And that sometimes they just, like in your case, don't even bother. In my case, the example I made, like, just find a new CV writer, this is not a good fit. So relationships in 1 and 2 will kind of, yeah, there'll be more clarity once 1 and 3 are have more clarity. So lovely. Okay, anyone else, is there anyone else who would like to share before we move on to the next part, which is wrapping up? Fernanda. Ooh, yay.
Yes.
We'll just want to hear about
Perfect.
these stories all day.
Thank you. I was just curious because when I heard the name of this activity directed toward conflict, I was really looking to see the advantages of conflict. And then after this exercise, I'm feeling like conflict was not necessary. So at the end, I was more calmed down. When you see the different perspectives, everything from an older perspective, you see that's not as important as it has been mentioned before. But that I wonder in which cases, because I guess that there is a point where for someone it's like, well done for person 1. You're doing great. Defend what you are trying to present in this case. So in which case, how would you present that conflict is actually reasonable, is relevant to really reach what you want to reach? I sometimes have conflict with conflict, so I was wondering about that.
Okay, I don't know if I caught all of that, but let me just yeah, how would I argue that conflict is reasonable or relevant? Is that what you said?
Yes. Yeah, when it's
useful. Yeah, and useful. Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I feel like that's a deep question. My first answer is, in the context of this workshop, I really focused on the part that it's useful in the sense that it's a catalyst for our own personal growth. So that's not the full story, but it's true that this exercise, you know, how I framed it as well, I I now look at, okay, when I do have a conflict, I know, because I've run this exercise so many times, that invariably there will be something that I will be learning about myself. So that is, that's how I'm kind of framing conflict in this sense. Your question is wider than that, though. And let me just see what I have off the top of my head on that. So useful, relevant, reasonable. I would say what comes to mind is, I talked about that, if the strength of the relationship between 1 and 3, if that is robust, then we actually potentially will be getting into more conflict with others because we have like a clear sense of who we are, and we're not willing to just go along with things. And so I would say that maybe conflict is useful, as long as we're not kind of closed off to the conversations between 1 and 2, position 1 and position 2. I would say conflict is good in that we have developed ourselves enough and we've pushed forward our thinking enough that we, that we don't agree with anything, that is happening, and that we're bumping heads with other people who have fully developed selves and strong convictions on things. That's what comes to mind. I don't know if that speaks at all to your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I like that, conflict with conflict.
I think the other Angela had her hand raised. So, Angela.
Thank you. I do have some connection problems, so you might lose me. But what I wanted to share, actually, while Fernanda was talking, I also had another realization. So first, for me, it was interesting to see the perspective of my older self, because I think I've been very busy with position 1 and position 2. And then I was like, oh, wait. So the position 3 was new to me, and it made me zoom out. It didn't have the same effect as others, that it said, oh no, it's not important. So I still find it very important, but I think I got a different perspective, that I should go in that conversation with a different energy and a different perspective, because it's not under my control, but I do care about this person. So that's one. And with Fernanda's question, I was also thinking that I think having conflict for the fact of having conflict is the negative part. But if you think of conflict as something that, okay, I will resolve something, or I will get to know someone better, or I will improve my way of life, or whatever, that is always positive. Because if you avoid it, then you just stagnate. So that is also something that sometimes I tend to do. I'm like, oh, I really don't want to deal with this right now. And then I realize that at some point it becomes urgent, because it's harder to avoid the conflict and it's more energy consuming to avoid it than actually going in and figuring it out and saying, okay, let's put a full stop here. So that can also be a positive way to see it.
Yes, thank you so much. I love that. And it reminds me too of when I was putting together for copy for Andrea, Vanessa will teach you a tool that will allow you to do the following. The first one I said is, begin to detangle what belongs to you in any given conflict, and what belongs to the other person. And really, if you just have some sort of like the CV writer, in my case, that wasn't, we weren't wildly intertwined, but in some of these deeper relationships where we're really close to people, that can be quite a challenge. And this can be a great exercise. You're in position 1, in position 2, in position 3, really starting to suss out, what belongs to position 1 and what belongs to position 2. I'm just mindful of time. Andrea, should we probably should end on the hour. Is that?
Yeah, that's fine. If we still have someone else that wants to share, yeah. If not, we can wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll try to wrap up now in the next couple of minutes. I did want to say you used the word energy, Angela, and I wanted to share that the most interesting things can happen with this exercise, where sometimes, so like, let's say you guys have all done this exercise on someone. Sometimes the shift that you experience just by doing this exercise, I don't know how this is possible, but it's as if sometimes the other person somehow feels that energy shift. And so even if you haven't had a conversation with them, I've done this so many times that, it doesn't happen every time, but sometimes the person will get a phone call from the person who is in position 2, and they'll say something, as if they were there witnessing. So again, doesn't happen every time, but Rachel says, yeah, I've experienced exactly this. Yes. So I just wanted to put that out. If strange kind of magical things like that start happening, know that that is entirely possible. Okay, so not much more to say about wrapping up. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to share with you. I think we've pretty much covered everything. So I just want to say thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience. I could just listen to your different experiences forever. And yeah, I hope you received a lot of value from it. If you would like to get in touch with me, this is me upside down. My baseline state is silly. So in case it doesn't come across here that I'm silly, I'm very silly. So you're free to connect with me on LinkedIn, via WhatsApp, or also you can send me an email. So my expertise is in personal productivity coaching. This is kind of something I do on the side. The two intersect when sometimes people cite as their biggest hurdle to maximum productivity is a colleague or another person. So I often bring that into the personal productivity work on that front. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. And before you go, if you already took Vanessa's context, can we stop the sharing and I want to do a screenshot of the people in the room, because I always forget to do this in the immersive series. So everyone just
oh yay, there's Praveen.
just a second. And another one, and then we can wrap up. All right. I want to thank everyone for being here and for being so engaged and vulnerable. And thank you, Vanessa, for this wonderful session.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thanks to Andrea too.
Bye. Thank you both
Bye,
of you.
everybody. Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.